Okay, I'm not sure where Commissioner Grove is at the moment, but I think we should go ahead and get started.
I just texted him.
I did as well.
Okay.
Mayor, if you'd like to call the meeting to order.
Sure.
And I will go ahead. I'm sorry, I'll go ahead and share the screen again so that the agenda is up.
Okay.
Oh, there's Commissioner Grove.
Okay. Hey, Kevin.
Okay, I'm here. I was having some technical difficulties.
Okay, thank you.
All right, let's call the meeting to order and roll call when we're ready.
Okay, Commissioner Donnie Carter.
Here.
Commissioner Nina Forsyth.
Here.
Commissioner Kevin Grove.
Here.
Commissioner Adam Ritchie.
Here.
And Mayor Robert Flanagan.
Here, Liz. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see. We got a couple work session topics. Liz, whenever you're ready.
Okay. The first things we're going to go over tonight or this afternoon are 3 ordinances. These ordinances were all introduced last month at your public meeting, and they were reviewed last month at your work session. There is a public hearing notice that's run in the paper this weekend as well as today. And I'll go over them briefly here tonight. Any members of the public wishing to look at these ordinances in more detail can go to the city's website and navigate to this work session meeting and click on the links just as I'm clicking on them in the what's shown on the screen, and they are available. The first is the water and sewer policy ordinance. What this does is it codifies many of the policies that the city has in place now and clarifies other matters in terms of billing, water connection, and dealing with meters, just some things that we've in the past we've just had in-house policies, and in order to have it a city code where it is law and also readily available to the public, we've gone through this effort to develop this new ordinance. And then one of the last things it addresses is defining a Frostburg dwelling equivalent, and that's what our surcharges are based on. So again, that's policy, but this codifies that. In terms of the public hearing that will be taking place next Thursday at your council meeting, it will be at 7 o'clock, your regular council meeting time. And instead of using Zoom like we have been for the past several meetings, we're going to be using Allegheny Media. And by using them to facilitate the meeting, there'll be some enhanced technology options. And so people without internet access that would still like to listen to the meeting, they will be able to call a phone number that will be published, or they can call me at City Hall and I will provide that to you. In addition, the meeting will be closed captioned, and in order for people to be able to submit comments other than just submitting them in writing in advance of the meeting, if there's a specific ordinance that they wish to offer public comment, I need to be notified prior to the meeting and provided with a phone number, but then they will be called during the meeting and can offer comment live during the meeting. And then this will all be live streamed on Facebook as it is right now. So any questions on Ordinance 2020-02 or the public hearing process and public meeting process for next week?
Yeah. Elizabeth, let's see. Am I unmuted? Yeah. Does this apply only to public comment on specific ordinances, or will it also apply to public comment at the end of the meeting? Anybody who thinks they might want to comment at the end can provide their phone number.
Yeah, they can do that for the general comment at the end as well.
Okay, thanks.
Sure. And I'll communicate that via a Facebook post. There's just been a lot of notices going out right now to do with various things. So, but that post is coming.
Thanks.
Okay. Very good.
Any other questions?
Everybody good?
Okay. The next budget, or the next hearing is the budget ordinance. That will be held next week, and Elaine, I think, will give you a brief overview in terms of why this hasn't changed since what we presented to you last month.
Thank you, Elizabeth. So the budget ordinance was presented last month, and while we know the situation is not looking promising as far as meeting our current year budget, there is still a lot of uncertainty as to what the impact will be on the budget for next year as well. So we are not recommending any changes to the budget ordinance at this time, just because we don't have any additional definitive guidance or any reliable information to revise our estimates at this time.
Okay.
So we go into this understanding that there will likely be budget amendments needed next year, but we're just not in a position at this time, to make any recommended changes to the budget ordinance. So we would move forward with the second reading of the ordinance next week and request a vote of the mayor and council. This would include the real estate tax rate increase, as was previously discussed, of the 2 cents per $100 of assessed value, and also the increases in the water, sewer, and garbage rates that we have discussed in the fee schedule. At the city, we recognize that the impact of this pandemic on people's health and well-being is of utmost importance, and we want to be very sensitive to that. But there is a real financial impact to the city as well, and I just want to give a real brief update to the mayor and council just on the preliminary impact that we have seen regarding the COVID-19 pandemic. In review of the April budget report and our tax and utility reports, the first big impact the city's seen has been on our utility funds. As we've mentioned before, the utilities function just like a private enterprise. So the revenues from these operations have to support their expenses. So per the executive order of the governor, utilities are not allowed to assess any new penalties right now on delinquent balances, nor are we allowed to terminate service for non-payment. And typically, the primary enforcement mechanism for the city as far as collection of utilities is our shutoffs. So we are not allowed to do that right now for the governor's order. So what we have done is the city has been mailing courtesy letters to customers who typically would have fallen under the shutoff guidelines, meaning that they have a balance that's at least 90 days beyond their billing date. So we've been sending courtesy letters, just letting people know that the city is accepting partial payments as people are able to pay. We've also been using this as an opportunity to remind customers of the options that they have to make their payments. We're still accepting payments through the mail, and we've seen an increasing number of customers who are taking advantage of making online payments through the city's website. So that's been a very helpful tool for customers to have. And we're also emphasizing that we'll work with customers to make payment plans. So they just need to reach out to the city, and we'll discuss their accounts and in coordination with Commissioner Forsyth will work out payment plans. So we are trying to reach out to customers because it's hard for them if they get further behind later to be able to catch up. So we have seen an increase in the aging of our receivables, meaning the amount of the balance that is owed is growing as far as the balances over 180 days and over 60 days. So I compared the balances to a year ago, and the percentage of receivables over 180 days delinquent has nearly doubled from just over 7% to almost 15%. Percentage of receivables over 60 days delinquent has increased about 8%. So sometimes dollars are more meaningful to people than percentages. So to kind of put that in perspective, the total customer utility accounts that are over 60 days past due right now, those customers owe the city about $41,000 more as of April 2020 than they did in April 2019. So this decrease in customer payments negatively impacts the cash flow that the city has available to pay our expenses. But you know, we are functioning fine at this point, but it's just something that we're mindful of going forward and want to continue to reach out to customers as far as working towards helping them have their accounts up to date. We've also seen a decrease in our utility billings, and that's due to decreases in water and sewer consumption. So our revenues look at what has been billed, not what has been collected. The water consumption among some of the city's typically highest consumers has dropped dramatically due to the stay-at-home order. For example, the university had a decrease of consumption about 1.9 million gallons in 1 month. You compare April of 2020 to April of 2019. So you turn that into dollars, that's a decrease in revenue for the city of about $47,000 in 1 month. Another example, we have a local hotel. They had a 96% decrease in their consumption in April 2020 compared to April of 2019. So again, that translates into a significant decrease in our revenues. And we expect this decreased consumption to be continuing, you know, over the next few months. But unfortunately, our operating expenses do not decrease very much. So we're just very mindful of this. Secondly, as we've discussed before, the city expects a decrease in our general government revenue sources. We talked about Maryland income tax, highway user revenue, admissions taxes, hotel motel tax. So, and this impact is going to be difficult to measure as well. We just continue to be very diligent in our efforts to be good stewards of the resources that the city has, that we've been entrusted with, and we're trying to provide the best service that we can for the residents of the town. So I'm available, of course, to address any questions the mayor and council have today, either regarding the budget, the ordinance, the fee schedule, or any of the year-to-date information. And the public can contact me by email or phone. My contact information is on the city website. Otherwise, we'll be prepared for a second reading next week and then a vote of the mayor and council on the budget ordinance.
Thank you, Elaine.
Okay. Thank you, Elaine.
Are there any questions for Elaine or me on the budget?
No.
No.
No, makes sense.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Elaine.
Thanks.
The last is the ordinance 2020-04 regarding mayor and council salaries. This would increase the mayor and the council member's salary for the first time in 28 years. And it would go into effect January 1st, 2021. And I know you had discussion that if financially the city it did not feel comfortable with that additional expense in the fall, that the mayor and council could elect to take additional action to postpone that increase in salary.
Right.
Is there any questions on that?
Nope,
Thanks.
everybody good.
Okay. Next, in regards to the Frostburg Municipal Center, the governor's orders have allowed construction to continue as that has been deemed an essential service. So the project at 37 Broadway to remodel the police station into the Frostburg Municipal Center has remained underway and is close to on schedule. There have been some delays because of suppliers in other states that were shut down to a greater degree that that Maryland has been are behind. But in general, the project's on track, and the architect and construction supervisor and city staff continue to have progress meetings via Zoom. So we're working on that. But as with any construction project, there are change orders. And right now, there's several change orders under discussion, but I believe there will be 2 ready for your consideration at council meeting next week. And both are relatively minor in scope. The first would be in regards to some floor plan changes that resulted in an additional expense of about $5,000. After the plans had been finalized, we had made some staffing changes and needed to add an additional office and remove like an open work area on the 2nd floor and add some additional cabinetry. So those changes have been estimated to be a little over $5,000. I'll have a detailed change order for you next week before I ask you to vote on it, but I need our architect to approve that first. And then the second change order is the addition of a few interconnected carbon monoxide alarms. And that's because that's tied to the alarm system and everything between materials and labor. I think that's around a little over $2,000. And those were additional required by the fire marshal during their review.
Okay.
Also, as we've talked previously at meetings, the city was awarded a $500,000 capital budget miscellaneous grant in the state's budget this year. However, because of the significant budget shortfalls that the state is facing, there are anticipated cuts to the current budget. And I've reached out to Department of Budget and Management about our specific grant, and they do not know anything yet, whether that will stay in place or be cut. Right now, we're on budget, on schedule, and I don't have, either way, we'll be able to complete the project. Obviously, the grant money will allow us to do things like furniture and gives us a cushion, but I'll keep you updated on that. But we do not know for sure at this point in time.
Okay.
Okay.
I took a little tour of it.
Yeah, it's coming along.
Yeah.
So. Okay, so the next item is I just wanted to provide you with some updates regarding city staffing, city policies, city facilities in response to COVID-19. So I'll kind of just go through my notes here if you don't mind, and then you guys can have a discussion following that. And I know the chief would like to add some comments as well, probably when I'm done. So first, per your decision, Last month, we are doing a election on June 2nd, but will be done with mailed out ballots. And those ballots will be mailed this week. And residents that are eligible voters should receive those. If they do not receive a ballot, please contact me at 301-689-6000, extension 101, or email me at estallman@frostburgcity.org, and I will provide you with a ballot. Those ballots can be returned by mail. They are pre-stamped, so no cost to the voter, or they also may be delivered on election day at a delivery box at City Place between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. Or third, they can be delivered to a delivery ballot box at City Hall beginning on Monday between the hours of 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. It'll be in the lobby and the front door will be open, so it'll be a touchless transaction for anyone wishing to cast their vote that way. And the vote canvassing will begin on the morning of June 9th, and more information about that will be posted later. City Hall, the lobby will be open beginning on Monday at 8 a.m. and residents wishing to pay their bills or other city business in real life may do so via the teller window or transaction counter that we have here at City Hall, but they won't be able to gain access to the office area of City Hall. And we would still encourage people to mail checks or pay via the online payment options. Commissioner Ritchie, in the street department, the bulk pickup has been postponed until June 16th to 18th. And I know the commissioner made that decision as it just felt like it would be a safer option to delay it for our employees here at the city. In terms of outdoor recreation, and in consultation with Commissioner Forsyth and Brian, our Parks and Rec Director, all of our parks are open, but visitors must adhere to social distancing and still must follow the governor's executive order not to congregate in groups of 10 or more. They should limit their grouping to their immediate family that they live with. Indoor facilities and pavilions are still not available for rental, but reservations are being accepted with no guarantee that they can occur. If a resident does make a reservation and makes the deposit and it cannot occur per the governor's orders, that deposit will be refunded. The pool and day camp, there is no scheduled date as of now to open, but based on governor's orders and the local health department and the date in which they would be able to open, a decision would be made then. And then the spring leagues have been canceled, and fall leagues, again, is unknown at this time. Farmers market, the first farmers market did happen last Friday. It will happen again tomorrow from 9:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. It is supposed to be a beautiful day tomorrow, so vendors will be able to be outside. We've expanded the footprint of the farmers market to allow social distancing between both the vendors and the guests, but masks are still required at the farmers market. That is the city's rule, and it will be enforced. And then in terms of the governor's executive order, on Friday at 4 p.m., certain businesses in the state may open following certain guidelines. For any small businesses that have questions, Frostburg First is sending out communication that should address those. If you do not get Frostburg First email or have specific questions, you may email the Main Street manager, Deirdre, at frostburgfirst@gmail.com. Allegheny County government also has a coronavirus resource page that should provide information. The governor's also provided, sure, yes, Commissioner.
I just want to add that the Chamber of Commerce also sent out a good resource guide. We might want to post a link to that.
Great idea. I will take care of that.
Hey, I got a question too about the farmer's market.
Yes.
I'm reading the governor's order here, and again, are they all outside? We're not letting them in City Place, right?
No, they are inside City Place.
I don't think, if we're not allowing City Place to be rented out to anybody else, I don't think it's a very good idea to have them inside City Place either.
Last week, there were only 2 vendors, and it was a rainy day, and so they were inside and they were spaced far apart. But isn't tomorrow, aren't they supposed to all be outdoors?
I think weather permitting, yes.
Is a farmer's market, I mean, is that an essential? I mean, you know, a grocery store is, so, you know.
It's food.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm just looking at it, you know, we're not letting anybody in City Place because you're not allowed to have gatherings of 10 or more people. I mean, certainly there's 10 or more people there. They're capable of being outside. They're outside at every other farmer's market in the county. I don't see why we need to take a chance on this.
Okay, I will, I'll communicate those concerns to Brian, Donnie. I know the State Department of Health did come out with they regulate farmers markets, and they came out with specific regulations several weeks ago regarding farmers markets. And I know Brian made sure that we were in compliance, but you know, if we want to take additional precautions, we can discuss that with Commissioner Forsyth and go from there.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just reading like section 6 of the governor's thing just says state and local government buildings and facilities with an expected occupancy of 10 or more, you know, are need to be very careful.
Yes. Okay, I'll add that to my list, and I'll talk to Brian, and we can discuss that further.
Okay.
And I'll talk to him tonight to make sure that no one's going to be inside. I think we do need to leave the building open for restroom access so people can wash hands.
Okay.
Okay.
Will Nick also have somebody there just to kind of monitor things?
Sure, we can certainly do that. That's not a problem at all. There was a little question last week and we did that. Everybody just...
I appreciated him being there.
Sure, absolutely. I thank you for saying that. We're happy to do it, and we could certainly do that again if you'd like.
Thank you.
Another question that I had is, do you want to, with the executive order from yesterday, do you want to continue free parking to encourage curbside service?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I figured as much, but I just wanted to make sure. Deirdre shared with me, or the Main Street manager shared with me some information she's heard just from other states that have opened up before us, and as these businesses open. And I guess I'd just like to remind everyone that this has been a stressful time for everyone. And when these businesses are opening, please be kind to the people that are working at these businesses, and try and extend your patience as everyone tries to get back into the swing of things. So.
Yeah, everybody's sort of feeling their way forward. From what I've seen so far, the business people that I have spoken to or seen comments from, they're kind of easing into the opening. It's kind of like doing a soft opening, not like a full blast.
Grand opening.
As
Yeah.
we're all just trying to find our way forward. So everybody needs to have a little patience.
And so with that, I guess, Nick, you've been on some calls and have some resources as well in regards to this opening. So if you could just share that with the mayor and council and anyone who, small business that might be listening.
Sure, I'd be happy to. Thank you, Ms. Baldwin. Mayor, commissioners, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, Nick.
So just a few updates, no special order, and really, particularly if you have questions, please let me know. And I'm glad to touch on any topics you're wondering about. The state of Maryland has been a wonderful resource to us all along as this developed and the governor issued his orders. All along the way, there have been a number of interpretive questions and questions about how the police should enforce these matters practically. So the Maryland State Police have what's called the COVID Operations Center, and roughly weekly, it may be every week, but regularly they have a webinar, and they have a representative of the Operations Center. They usually have a doctor there. They have members of other state entities. They have a representative of the State's Attorneys Association, all kind of touching on issues that have arisen or which are foreseeable to arise. And they've been very, very wonderful to us along the way, both in terms of the webinar information and in terms of sending us, written updates and enforcement guidance. One of the things we tried to do locally throughout Allegheny County is to be consistent with our enforcement. The Cumberland Police Chief and the Sheriff and the Maryland State Police Barrack Commander and I communicate regularly, especially when there's a new change or adjustment to the order as to how we're going to put these things into practice. So I think one of the things maybe I would recommend to the businesses, primarily with the new order that came out yesterday evening, is maybe really be familiar with the governor's order, maybe take a look at that, and especially focus on the areas that pertain to the type of business you operate. With regard to the mask, what we've asked everyone to do in Allegheny County law enforcement is, if someone would enter a business without a mask and they're not allowed to have one, would ask the business owners or the employee on duty to first politely ask the person to wear a mask or to leave the store. And if they will not comply with that, if they say, no, I'm not wearing a mask and I'm not leaving, then call the police and we'll be right there. That's generally been a pretty kind of a tiered approach, kind of a progressive approach. And that's been what we've, agreed upon as law enforcement agencies to request the businesses to do. We would certainly respond anytime a business wanted us to. If there is a problem at all, we can be there in moments. That's one of the benefits of the community, the way we're structured in city government, is we're only moments away and we can have a high level of service. So, we can mediate conflicts, we can talk to people, and we can stop these things really from growing and progressing into an issue. The last webinar I mentioned was actually yesterday afternoon, and then last evening, Governor Hogan made the significant updates we're discussing here. So just during this meeting, I got a notification that they're doing another webinar tomorrow afternoon at 3, so law enforcement will have some new updates there. There are some, I don't want to get down into the weeds too much, there are some questions that could come up for businesses that were discussed in the webinar, things like ADA compliance for people who have medical issues that might connect with masks and some of those things that was discussed at the last webinar. The ADA does apply and has an interplay with the governor's order. So for example, for like a business, that's probably a foreseeable problem. And what the state entities have advised law enforcement is really that the local business should kind of pursue that, consult with their legal counsel, and come up with a sort of a plan for how they're going to deal with this. If someone comes and claims they can't wear a mask because of a medical issue, generally they'll discuss balancing the risk against the accommodations that can be provided. An example might be if somebody has a health issue and can't wear a mask, maybe they could wait outside and the business could do curbside service or select the goods for them and take them outside, something like that. But again, they were very, very careful, and I want to be very careful not to provide people legal advice. I think each business does have to decide how they're going to handle that matter and consult with any legal counsel they have access to. So that's kind of a crash course. I think, again, the main gist is please just be familiar with the governor's order, take a look in the area you deal in, and know that we're close by. We're only moments away. If there's any way we can be of assistance, or again, mediating conflict, or enforcing the law if people won't comply with polite requests to do so.
Thanks, I appreciate that.
Sure. Thank
Very
you.
good. Thanks, Nick.
Is there any more questions or discussions on the city's actions and response in regards to COVID-19?
Nope.
Mhm.
No.
Okay. I'm good.
Okay,
Sounds
and
good.
then I know I mentioned that call-in number before for next week's council meeting if people aren't able to connect via the internet and watch it live. And I do have that phone number. I found it in my notes. So it is 301-241-9278. And that meeting will be at 7 p.m. on Thursday, May 21st. The only other thing for your agenda next week will be the approval of the April minutes.
Okay.
All I have, I believe.
Okay.
Everyone good?
Yep,
Yep.
sounds good.
Okay.
Yep, good.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Thanks, Elaine.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chief.
All right.
Meeting adjourned.
Thank you, Mayor.